What's up, you guys? You're watching Game Taco for the win, and we're here with a review of the highly acclaimed Diablo 3. So, this game has been out for nearly 3 weeks so far. Let's see how it stacks up against everybody's absurdly high expectations. Now, when you think of Diablo, you should think of awesome loot and slaughtering hellspawn in a repetitive but highly addictive and entertaining fashion. But does Diablo 3 continue this pattern successfully? Well, to be honest, no, it doesn't. Kind of fails. But that's due to a bunch of really awkward and just plain weird design flaws. But that doesn't mean the game is bad by any means. You just have to be aware of what you're getting into. So let's talk about the DRM. Everybody got their panties up in a bunch about the DRM in Diablo 3. Now, DRM sucks, I know, but for some reason Blizzard forced the same always-online DRM that StarCraft 2 had. This sucks because if Blizzard's servers are down, then you can't play the game at all. You can't even play single player. You have to log on to your Battle.net account no matter what, and to be frank, it's just silly. That's the only word I could think of to describe it. Silly. At launch, this put people into a frenzy because they couldn't play the fucking game. And their servers are not exactly stable. They're just not exactly stable. I don't think I've ever played with a latency below 200 milliseconds, which is just kind of shitty, to be honest. If Blizzard's servers are up, then you'll find a pretty entertaining story that concludes Diablo's trilogy. I found it to be pretty satisfying, and the highly detailed, badass cinematics certainly help. They are so good. I love them. They're probably one of my favorite parts of the game, to be honest. But you play as this new hero that comes to New Tristram, and after you rescue Deckard Cain, you end up taking the fight against the lesser evils Belial and Asmodon. Stuff happens. There's a few twists and turns here. Your followers also have some backstories that are revealed if you choose to talk to them, which is a nice touch, but it's not really important at all. I just thought it was pretty cool.
You don't speak of how you became a Templar. Were you born to it?
Now, I know a lot of people gave Blizzard crap about their new art style and aesthetic choices for Diablo 3 because they said it was too similar to WoW, Well, those people obviously have not played Diablo 3 because this game looks awesome. It's not really mind-blowing by any means, but everything meshes together flawlessly, and it runs well on a whole bunch of different systems. You don't have to have a really good computer to play this game. And also, games don't have to look realistic to look good. I don't know why people think that. It's retarded. In fact, the art style helps to create an immersive combat system. Enemies really stick out, and the screen glows with a soft light that really, helps set the mood for your character, and it shows that your character's in a dire situation. Character animations are alright, but the designs are fantastic. The enemy designs are pretty good, too. The spell effects look great, and they have lots of fancy colors and effects. Let's just say that this game looks great, alright? The mechanics of the game have also been changed as well. Some for the better, some not really, some more for the worse. One thing that I'm kind of on the fence about is the new skill system. Instead of locking your character into a specific skill build, you could change your skills whenever you want and then modify skills with certain runes so that they do different things. The runes are a cool idea, but I really miss the feeling of making important choices for your character. But it is interesting that you could try out new skills without risking, your character build and whatever. The skills really make the combat fast and fun. There's a lot of physics involved, and it's really gratifying to see your axe send a demon's head flying across the screen with blood splattered everywhere. This may seem like a strange comparison, but it kind of reminds me of something like Call of Duty, as much as I hate to say that. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of skill involved, but it feels great to kill stuff. That's kind of how Call of Duty is to me. Unfortunately, all the customization kind of screws you up later in the game because a lot of people end up using the same skills and playstyles, and this is partly because the itemization in this game is completely botched, which sucks. It's probably one of the worst parts of the game. See, items are now the only thing that determine your DPS because you no longer pick stat points. It's all automated. Therefore, a lot of people simply use items that give them the most DPS, and only certain properties are really effective at boosting your DPS. Therefore, players only keep gear that has things like plus damage, attack speed, and their main stat and vitality. What do you do with all the useless loot, you ask? Well, you take it to the blacksmith. Unfortunately, all the crafting in Diablo 3 is useless as of now. It's simply way too expensive to use effectively, and in that way, it kind of forces you to use the auction house. And the auction house, well, to be honest, it sucks, and mainly because there's no sorting, and it completely undermines all of your effort that you spend looking for gear. What's the point in keeping loot and going on boss runs and, actually playing the game to find loot? when you could simply find stuff on the auction house that's 10 times better than what you have for next to nothing. It's completely pointless. The multiplayer aspect does work pretty well, and it's pretty seamless. The player cap per lobby is only 4, but it works well enough. All the loot is instants for each player, meaning that there's no loot ninjas or mad dashes for loot. It really balances things out, but it does take away that competitive edge for players. Speaking of which, PvP isn't implemented yet because it's still being tweaked. You'll probably end up playing Diablo 3 several times just to experience the different classes and such, because it is a joy to slaughter enemies. It took me around 16 hours or so to finish the campaign because I took my time, and there are achievements to complete each of the 4 acts in under an hour, so you can rush through them if you want. It really depends on how you play. As you beat harder difficulties, even more harder difficulties are unlocked, and they have considerably harder monsters. It's hard to judge a game like Diablo 3, really. I'm not going to lie, it's a super fun game to play, but by the end of it there are some very real problems with the fundamental mechanics of the game that prevent me from giving it a really good score. To be honest, I don't even consider Diablo 3 a Diablo game. It plays too much like an MMO for me, and it's very linear actually. I still recommend it simply because of the production values and the amount of content it has. Just be prepared of the gimmicks that are involved so you don't, regret your decision.